I know I'm dope, but I don't do that much because I don't want people to know that I'm dope. So I kind of be playing it low key. That was imposter syndrome at its finest. What's up, my mental health, the New Wealth family? It is your girl, Nikita Nicole, the Illuminist, and I am so glad that you are here with me today. Y'all, it was a struggle, right? It was a struggle. We are now on season 2 of Mental Health, the New Wealth, and that came very, very fast. I was struggling because there is a deadline and a time frame that I gave myself to move forward in these seasons, series, and episodes, and I had not done it. I was waiting for the best time, the best lighting, getting a better camera, setting up the atmosphere, putting on a little face for y'all, because in this season, we will be doing video and audio podcasts. So I wanted to look the part. However, I was struggling because I wasn't able to stay in the flow due to anxiety, due to all these things that were in the way, whether it be perfectionism, whether it be wanting something to look a certain way, presenting a certain way. And I was struggling, y'all. I was struggling due to procrastination from wanting everything to be perfect, wanting everything to be just right, just so that you guys can appreciate this podcast as you did the last season. And you know what? I was like, I can't wait for that. Every time I would think about what I'm gonna wear, what does the area look like? Are you gonna put your face on? All of those things got me out of the flow of inspiration that I was feeling at that moment. They cheated me of the opportunity to bring y'all the fire podcast that I know I can bring due to the small technicalities. So I feel like me coming on as is was more valuable, would add more value to you than being prepared. So here we are on the second season, and due to these struggles and difficulties that I was having, today we're going to discuss and talk about imposter syndrome. Now, I will put the technical definition of imposter syndrome down in the description so that you guys can see the dictionary version of it. However, in layman's terms, imposter syndrome is fear of being found out, or having a fear of the world finding out that basically you're human, that you're not perfect, you don't have it all together. Fear that someone will find out you're not as talented as you are, you don't bring as much to the table as it's perceived. And imposter syndrome also is coupled with anxiety and other mental health difficulties and disorders, such as, i.e., procrastination and perfectionism. So in turn, you always have this anxiety like someone is going to find out like you're a phony, or someone is going to think less of you or diminish who it is that you really are based on what they perceive of you. Now, I know I was struggling. I know I was going through it. And I know that I have bits and pieces of imposter syndrome that I am working through day by day. However, let's talk about some of the symptoms of imposter syndrome so you will know if you are suffering or are going through some of these mental difficulties and disorders. So imposter syndrome looks like not being able to list your skills or competence. So what it means by not being able to list your skills or incompetence is that you have a range of skills and things that you are very talented that you do. But when point blank asked, what is it that you do? It's very hard for you to give real answers. So that might also look like not bigging yourself up, not wanting to talk about yourself and the things that you bring to the table. Always downplaying your abilities or what it is that you are able to do and accomplish. And oftentimes that looks like when you have achieved something, you have done something very great in your life or in the lives of others, You blame external forces as to why these things have been accomplished. Not that you worked really hard, not that you pushed forward to do your best, not that you've been doing this for a minute and you're very skilled at what you're doing, but oh, if it wasn't for working with this group, or if it wasn't for someone coming in a clutch that day, if it wasn't for the weather, if it wasn't for this, that, or the third, I wouldn't have been able to accomplish the things that I very well accomplished because I earned and deserved these things. Someone that suffers from imposter syndrome, like I said before, has issues with speaking about the things that they accomplish or that they are able to do. That is also coupled with downplaying your performance. So when someone does come to you and acknowledge the great things that you have done, you come from a space of, nah, it wasn't that big. It wasn't that big of a deal. It wasn't me, it was someone else. Not being able to give yourself full credit for your accomplishment and your well-earned success. Another major symptom of imposter syndrome is fear that you won't line up with others' expectations. Now, this is a major one because we are walking around in this fleshly avatar, right? And there are things that we have done in our life, whether it be good, bad, indifferent, or whatever. But after a certain time, you develop this avatar into what you want it to be. You move forward in your life and you develop a reputation or a perception from others to who you are or who you feel that they should think that you are. So due to this, you have an innate fear that somehow, some way, someone will figure out that you're not quite who they think that you are. You are not as awesome. You are not as successful. When in turn, it's really fear that others will realize that you are human just like them. So what? You make mistakes. You must encourage yourself. You must push forward just like them on a regular basis to achieve the goals and the things that you set forth in your life. Also, imposter syndrome looks like self-sabotage or overachieving. Now, these two are on different places of the spectrum. However, you can overachieve, push yourself to a crazy level, wanting to always be perfect, wanting to always excel, wanting to always go above and over, trumping yourself each time. Now, it's not so bad, but everything needs to be done in balance. And what I mean by that is, when you start doing these things and overachieving for the pleasing of others or the praise or accolades of others, that's when it starts to become a problem. Because then you're not doing it for your own self-gratification. You are then doing it for others' gratification, which when people dislike something that you do, then it causes a major disruption in your mental space because you are pushing forward, you are doing all these things to look like a certain way or a certain person in other people's eyes. In turn, on the opposite end, you might not want to be successful at all because of people's perception. And I have an example of that. So I was talking to a friend of mine, and this particular friend was like, yeah, man, like, you're dope. Like, do you know that you're dope? Like, do you know that you're as dope as you really are? Like, do you know that you can offer, or you do offer so much to the world and the people that you come in contact with? And my response was, yeah, I know I'm dope, but I don't do that much because I don't want people to know that I'm dope. So I kind of be playing it low key. That was imposter syndrome at its finest. I'm holding myself back and not excelling, being underwhelming, not overwhelming or overachieving, underwhelming, downplaying the abilities that I know I have and the effects that I have on people because I don't want to be held to such a high standard. I don't want to be perceived as this person or put on a pedestal. So when I do things that are human, and I do, your girl be tripping, your girl be going through it sometime, I don't want to be knocked off my pedestal or looked upon as different than the positive, influential, bright person that I am. So due to that, I was self-sabotaging who I could be and what I can do or have in life by just following my path and my purpose for fear of other people's perception of me. So looking over some of those symptoms, you will be able to see whether you are struggling with imposter syndrome. A lot of times this is coupled with, as I said before, perfectionism and other mental difficulties and disorders. But I just wanted to give you those pointers so that you would know for yourself if you were going through some of these things. So now that we have a better understanding of what imposter syndrome is, let's talk about some ways we can nip that shit in the bud. We can cut the cord. Let's talk about some of those things. So when you are going through imposter syndrome or you suffer from having imposter syndrome, one of the best ways that you can help yourself feel better and work through these symptoms is to share your feelings, like what I am doing here. You can do that in so many ways. I am doing it through a form of a podcast. You can confide in close friends and family, but as long as you are getting your feelings out and letting people know how it is that you do feel, you'll be successful in working through imposter syndrome. Let people know I'm struggling. Let people know I am human. Let people know I have feelings just like you. I know oftentimes when you're in the public eye or you're around a lot of people, especially in this world of social media, we can portray things as we want it to be. And so when we have moments of fragilities and frailties, as we do as humans, then we feel bad to share those experiences with others. When we don't understand that sharing these experiences with others help us not only get through these symptoms, but help people to understand that we are no different than anyone else. And now it's this big thing where, oh, we have cancel culture. But if I am clear and I am open with who I am my authentic self, and I operate out of a space of authenticity, then you can't cancel me. I can say what I want, do what I want, and who gonna check me, boo? No one is able to say anything about who you are and how you're operating if you are transparent about who you are from jump. So I'll give a prime episode of Rihanna. I love me some Riri. I think she's hella dope. Might I add, she's doing something correctly because she's a billionaire, right? But I remember when people used to try to bash her because she used to be on social media. She used to be out. She used to have hot girl summers before hot girl summers was a thing. She would be at carnival festivals and stuff, rolling her tree, smoking, doing whatever she wanted to do in her authentic life. And people would ask her, you know, you're a role model to people. Why do you do this, that, or the third? Why do you operate out of this space? And her answer would always be, I am being authentic to who I truly am. I'm not living for no social media. I'm not doing things for what you guys feel I should be doing. I'm living the life that I feel that I should live. And I think that she's been pretty successful at doing so. Wouldn't you think? Another thing that you can do when you are sharing your feelings, how you feel, when you have bad days, when you have good days, when things are hard for you, is you help others with the same mental difficulties and disorders. So if I never said anything about anything that I was going through, I cannot be an example to someone else to let them know, hey, you are not by yourself. There are so many people that go through the same thing that you go through, and we can go through this together. Let me show you how I am getting over this or how I am working through these mental difficulties and disorders so that you also can do the same thing. Sharing is caring. Also, another thing you can do is reflect on achievements and accomplishments. A lot of times I do gratitude scripting, or I write down things that I am thankful for or I am happy about. And so you don't necessarily have to write these things down. It can make it easier for you so that you can go back and look at these things, but just giving yourself credit for the things that you have accomplished, right? Giving yourself credit for these things and then allowing yourself to grow past these things. And so, case in point, I think that I have suffered from imposter syndrome because from an early age, I was very entrepreneurial. At a very young age, I had businesses, I was conducting business, I was doing things my own way. It was very seldom, like I can count on one hand, the actual jobs that I have had being employed by others, right? And so, due to this, I was known as the girl from Cali who got her own business, who's getting it in, who is successful. I remember I always traveled by myself, did things by myself. I would still kick it and meet other people there or hang out with people that I knew, and they would be like, well, who is here with you? Like, how are you here? And they was like, whoa, you out by yourself? You doing this, that, and the third? You moving and shaking and doing all these things, right? So I had built this reputation of who I was, and people saw me in that light. But truth be told, after a while in that light, I was drowning spiritually. I wasn't as fulfilled as I wanted and needed to be. So Spirit put it on my heart to relocate. And I can tell you, due to this relocation and this time that I have had, I am more spiritually in tune than I have ever been. It has been such a successful journey for me. However, I am suffering or have been suffering from imposter syndrome because I still get those phone calls. Hey girl, how you doing? Hey girl, what's going on? Hey girl, what other entrepreneurial things have you done? Hey girl, what have you done outside of the pandemic? Hey girl, you got cryptos? Hey girl, how are you investing? Hey girl, how are you moving forward? And at this current time, I am growing in leaps and bounds, spiritually, physically, mentally, financially, but not in the ways that people would think that I would be at this current time. Success or the life that I live now would look a little different to others. And so because of that, sometimes your girl be tripping because I don't know what to say. People are coming looking for this entrepreneurial, moving, shaking person, which I still am. But there are so many facets of me that have changed. And so the perception that people had of me is not the same person that I am today. And for fear that they might feel like your girl done fell off or am not as successful as I once was or they perceive me to be, was causing a trigger for me. And so due to that, I have had to put this next step in practice, which is take baby steps, especially from a person who is always moving and shaking, who is always going, who is always accelerated. Take small steps. It's okay to bite off little pieces. You don't have to shove the whole thing in your mouth and chew it all at one time. In order for you to digest what is going on, in order for you to make authentic strides that will last and be sustainable in your life, you have to take small bits and pieces. And it's okay to do that. No one has to understand your steps. You don't have to announce your steps. You don't have to figure out how it is that you're going to get from A to Z. Your whole goal is to figure out how to get from A to B, and then B to C, and then C to D. And doing those steps, taking those small steps, will cause you to not be so overwhelmed, will cause you to not be so bombarded with the things that you want to do and accomplish in life. Question your thoughts and your self-talk. How are you talking to yourself mentally? When things happen or things arise, how are you speaking to yourself? Are you speaking to yourself in the affirmative, or are you speaking to yourself in the negative? Do you give yourself room to grow? Do you give yourself room for mistakes? And if you make a mistake, are you beating yourself up for the mistakes that you made? Or are you looking at these mistakes, affirming that although I have made a mistake, I see the error of my ways, and now I can move forward in life and learning and lessons. It ain't no L's over here. It's only lessons. When you operate out of that place of understanding that there are no L's, but only lessons, you are able to move forward and tell others about the things that you have learned from the mistakes that you have made in order to retain these lessons to do better and future endeavors in your life. And expressing these to others will also allow you to be more relatable, because at some point or another, we all out here messing up. We're not perfect. No one is perfect. The only person that I ever heard was perfect was here a long time ago before all of us. And we can only attempt to push forward in the example that was given to us by that person. Another thing that is going to help you tremendously when dealing with imposter syndrome, and might I add, a lot of mental difficulties and disorders, and it is also coupled with this other thing, is stop comparing. Stop comparing yourself to other people. Stop comparing yourself to how you perceive other people are living, what other people are doing, what other people's social media look like, and how they are excelling, and who they are around, and what they have. And I don't have that. I don't hang with them type of people. I don't do this, that, and the other. People be doing it for the gram for real, in real life. Stop comparing yourself to other people. And also that is coupled with limit your level of social media or the interactions that you have on social media. Understand and know yourself. If you are triggered by some things on social media, get off of there. A lot of these smartphones and things now, they have a timer, and even on some of these social media apps, they have a timer to let you know, okay, you've been on here an hour, you've been on here 2 hours. You can set the limit for yourself, but set these limits so that you don't overindulge and trigger yourself into imposter syndrome by looking and comparing yourself to a false reality, to someone curating a life that you would like to have. Because 8 times out of 10, real life, these people are not living these lives that they are portraying to live. And when you work on your thought process, when you work on these things and don't compare yourself to others, it's easier for you to look at these things as entertainment and not look at it as reality, because it's definitely not that. And last but not least, when dealing with imposter syndrome and all mental difficulty disorders, don't let that shit hold you back. I'm going to say that again. Don't let any mental health difficulty or disorder hold you back. Knowledge is key. Understand who you are, the mental difficulties and disorders that you may have, and figure out ways that you can operate and make those mental difficulties and disorders your superpower. Push past that. Push past the things that may look limiting to you. It's all in your mind and what you choose to do with the things that you are going through mentally on an everyday or regular basis. And if you are able to examine yourself and stay in your authentic space and really examine how you feel, what is triggering you, and really do the work to stay high vibrational, then it will be easier for you to excel and get past a lot of these mental health difficulties and disorders. So I hope that this episode was able to help you understand what imposter syndrome is, how it shows up in your life. And don't get me wrong, there is so much more that can be discussed about this topic. There are levels in all of this. But I hope you were able to get a basic understanding of what imposter syndrome is and what you are able to do to move forward and push past imposter syndrome. Here on Mental Health, the New Wealth, we believe in the philosophy of not leaving any mind behind. So as you are doing your work every single day to be the best person that you can be mentally, spiritually, and physically, always remember your mental health is the new wealth. Until next time.